I didn't mind as much though, because they were probably switching or midway in process of transitioning to LEDs anyway to further save energy. I had noticed mixed lighting solutions throughout the building. The old lighting technologies gave a lot of people, including me, horrible headaches, chronic fatigue, just like old monitors, and wasted absurd amounts of electricity, among other issues. Life sure was better back in the old days of just working from dawn to dusk. However, these days, implemented properly with smart sensors by a trained implementation and consulting team, LEDs and Lux lighting were very healthy and helped people's moods too. The positive moods were doubly important here in the Pacific Northwest. I looked around for a second, and sure enough, there were several stacks of the newer lighting waiting to be installed. I smiled to myself and tucked the mops and other items that had spilled out back into the closet and made sure it shut tight and latched. I shrugged to myself that I must have been looking at the product lines and missed the tiny detail of this door being open. I promised myself I'd be more careful in the future. I took the pair of old light bulbs I'd found with me back to the paper product station to start the key process and receive the key. The paper products key was ready to go, so I grabbed it. The floater on the key ring looked like a cardboard box. That was pretty cool, I remember thinking. I put it in my pocket and felt for the prior keys. There were now 4 in total. Good. I picked up my heater and Monster Cat, and with my backpack on, I headed to the second to last station, which was probably going to be glass. Chapter 22, Glass Line. It took a while to get away from the large paper line, but as soon as I did, I could see the glass line. It looked similar to the hard plastic line, except heavier built, sort of like the metal line. I took the heater and set it down. The Monster Cat, realizing we were at a temporary destination, decided to go patrol. I confirmed the station had the same lockbox and went to the receptacle that was light bulb sized. I inserted both light bulbs just to make sure, and then I pretended to wink at the machines, as if the machine knew it was ridding the world of something legitimately horrible. My brain seemed to agree for a second by giving me a single throb of pain. Thanks, brain. That hand with the phantom throb had actually been cut by metal working on a computer, but I had sliced the tip of my thumb off being an idiot. I was trying to demonstrate why glass was dangerous to some kids, and well, it backfired. I stayed the hell away from glass ever since then whenever possible. It seemed so unpredictable and like it hated me. I also dropped a lot of glass in the past and hated cleaning it up. Sometimes glass would just randomly shatter even though it was supposed to be tempered properly. I really hated glass. I folded the light bulb carton up and stuck it in a pocket and looked around to wait for the machine to process the stupid glass. The shivers had nearly gone by this point, but I was still very cold due to so much of the heat leaving through my khaki cargo pants. They didn't hold in warmth as much as jeans did, but I never had money for the hybrid super cool tactical khakis that were actually as warm but still breathable somehow as both, and yada yada yada. Those pants were so expensive, but oh so awesome. And I always wanted the knee pad inserts in them too, because my knees had always hurt so bad since going up these awkward height stairs once when I was like 19. Such a stupid time in my life for my knees to go out, and I'd even been in pretty good shape, but whatever, who cares. My knees never recovered after that anyway. I could start to see the windows fairly close from here. I clicked my flashlight off to get contrast, and I adjusted my glasses to look at an upward angle towards the windows to see if I could try to see some hints of a sunrise at all. Maybe it was my imagination, but instead of it being mostly pitch black in second-story windows, it did almost start to look like a dawn's extremely dark navy blue beginning. Maybe another hour or two before full sunlight. I still needed to warm up, so I was sticking to this plan. Plus, whatever was going on out there, I didn't want to simply automatically rush outside until I gathered enough intel on what was going on. It wasn't like I was going to be able to run and shoot my way through like 6 blocks, plus 2 blocks, plus my entire subdivision if people decided overnight to immediately go bonkers. I didn't have nearly enough ammo. I wasn't going to risk it. If you were safe, you shelter in place. You hold position in case others are coming that are the good guys. That's always rule number 1. I noticed out of my peripheral that only barely a light had turned from off to green. I clicked my flashlight back on and got the key out of the lockbox. It had a little floater on the keyring that was a pair of glasses. Very cool. I put it in my pocket and felt around and counted 5 total keys in there now. I spoke in a low but calm voice aloud to patrolling Kitty that I was moving on to the next objective. Then I got my heater and headed towards the battery line. 1 to go. Chapter 23. Battery line. It wasn't very far from the glass line to the battery line. I had this one planned out as I had for most of the other challenges. I had the batteries I had swapped up from my flashlight from earlier. I set the heater down and noticed Monster Cat had been behind me. My cat companion realized we were at a stopping point and began to check the perimeter again. I checked the console and everything seemed to be normal. I went to the receptacle to put in the batteries. It had all different kinds of receptacles, and this place was quite different from all the others. It looked like it had been engineered to be more hazmat industrialified, if that makes sense. I imagine lots of bright yellow colors and everything being anti-corrosive and rubber and awesome and goggles and aprons. Sure enough, as soon as I noticed, there were about 50 safety signs everywhere and about those exact topics. There were a lot of references to OSHA and a special rising sink and special rinsing apparatus. There was also a whole library of manuals about pretty much everything you could imagine regarding MSDS, such as material safety data sheets. Instead of traditional books, they were basically entire binders of every topic, organized and very efficient. I stopped checking out the library and refocused on all the different bits and parts on the machine and tried to find something that looked like Li-ion for lithium-ion. That's the type of battery's full name, I think, I'm pretty sure. I eventually found a receptacle for that specific type of battery and inserted the batteries. After that, I went to the station to wait. I got back to the station, then I was going to check out the awesome library I spotted when I noticed a radio at the station. I guess someone at the station hadn't come to get the radio. Upon closer look, I noticed this was also a company radio, I guess. Well, it was branded with the company's logo anyway. I wonder if the radio had been made with some recycled materials as part of a promo or something. It looked like an upgraded radio, though, not just an AM/FM. I decided to take the radio with me. I looked up at the radio up close for a second, and I was curious. Upon closer inspection of its functions, it looked like it had some extra channels and a crank, and a solar panel. I was simply amazed at all the gadgets it had. I decided that I'd check it out later when I'm not freezing. Out of my peripheral, I noticed that I was correct about the battery return location. The faintest of green was lit upon the console, so the process had worked. I grabbed the 6th and final key. It had a floater on the keyring, which was a battery icon. Very neat. I added the battery key to my pocket of 5 other keys and was very happy at my accomplishment. I grabbed the upgraded radio and went to grab the heater and realized I had run out of hands. I set the radio back down. I searched it for a possible strap that it might have. I found a strap indeed and unfurled the strap. I looped it around my neck and under an arm. Then I picked up the heater and notified the cat that I was moving to the next objective. After which I started looking on the ground for the painted lines. Chapter 24. Back to the main office. I moved down the battery processing line a little bit in between it and the glass processing line. Before too long, I found painted on the concrete a line on the floor for me to follow. I did this instead of following the outer wall because the outer wall had machinery parked and I would have taken me twice as long to traverse. It also would have actually been quite dangerous for my legs and even potentially my head in the dark. I could have gotten a cut on my leg or bunked my head. I hadn't even seen a single first aid kit yet. I guess they must have removed all the first aid kits when they left. I realized that I hadn't seen any defib machines either. That service was probably leased by some company that came and picked up the items as part of the contract.